This video is sponsored by Skillshare. More on that later in the video. Today I'm going to show you how to make a sourdough bread wrapped in another sourdough bread. I hear you say, what? But it's absolutely gorgeous. Hi, I'm Sune and I'm a food geek. Today I'm going to show you how to make a sourdough bread wrapped in a layer of sourdough bread. The inner bread is a regular artisan sourdough bread dough. The outer layer is a low hydration dough, which we will use some tricks to keep this layer separate from the main dough. One thing is that it looks great, but the outer layer turns into the super crispy thing, which is very satisfying. This is an advanced bread, so if you're new to sourdough baking, maybe this isn't for you just yet. Skillshare offers thousands of inspiring classes for creative and curious people on topics including cooking, baking, photography, video, and more. When I first started out here on YouTube, I had never recorded videos, so I didn't really know how to get started. So I joined Skillshare as a member and found some great classes about how to record professional looking video. I also found this great class called How to Talk and Present to the Camera Like a Pro by fellow YouTuber Draw with Jazza that helped my presentation skills. The first 1,000 of my subscribers to click the link in the description will get a free trial of premium membership so you can explore your creativity. It's curated specifically for learning, meaning there are no ads, and they're always launching new premium classes so you can stay focused and follow wherever your creativity takes you. And it's less than $10 a month with an annual subscription. I'd like to thank Skillshare for sponsoring this video. The inside dough is made with my no-knead artisan sourdough bread recipe. 80% bread flour and 20% whole grain rye flour. 75% hydration and 2% salt and 20% inoculation. The outside layer is made with another bread flour. It's whiter and doesn't absorb as much water. People always ask me for brand names, and this one is called Frumenta Manitoba. It's a grain grown and harvested in Manitoba, Canada, and milled in Italy. Baked in Denmark, this is a very international flour. There's no whole grain component, and the hydration is 56%. The salt content is 2%, and the inoculation is 20%. If you'd like to support the channel, please consider becoming a member at Patreon. You can also buy some merch or use the links in the description for tools and ingredients. Those were the words. This is the recipe. The written recipe, the ingredients, and the amounts are linked in the description. This recipe is for 2 breads. If you want to make just 1 bread, you can just divide all the ingredients by 2. First, mix everything for the main dough. 452 grams of bread flour, 112 grams of whole grain rye flour, 12 grams of salt. Combine the ingredients with your hands. Then add 140 grams of sourdough starter and 410 grams of water. Mix the dough until all the flour has been hydrated. Then move the dough to a bulking container. Level the dough with a wet hand. Then mark the top of the dough using a whiteboard marker. Then put it away for proofing somewhere warm and let it double. The reason we want the dough to double is that we're tempering the oven spring so that the inner boule doesn't crack while it's baking. Then mix the dough for the outside layer. Add 344 grams of all-purpose flour, 8 grams of salt. Mix it with your hands. Then add 70 grams of sourdough starter, 178 grams of water. Then mix up the dough the best you can. Then knead all the rest of the flour in. After it's been kneaded, just put it in a container and leave it with the main dough. It's ready when the main dough is ready. Once the main dough has grown by 100%, it's time to pre-shape it. Divide the dough in half and shape them as boules. Not too tight or anything. Then let them rest on the kitchen counter for 20 minutes. Then it's time for the final shape. Flip over the boule, pull each side out and fold it into the middle to create tension on the dough facing the table. Then flip the dough over again and shape it with your bench scraper. Then grab a deep dish with black sesame seeds. Brush the boule with extra virgin olive oil. The reason we brush it with oil and add seeds is to help the separation of the two doughs. Then using your bench scraper, flip the dough into the bowl. Get sesame seeds as far up the sides you can. Then move the bowl with the dough inside out of the way. Do the same for the other bowl. Then clean your counter thoroughly. You don't want any seeds on the outside dough while you're rolling it out. Then grab the container with the outside dough. Have it and put one of the pieces back into the bulking container so it doesn't dry out. Then flour your counter. Roll out the dough into a big disc. It should be big enough to wrap all the way around the boule. Then brush the dough with extra virgin olive oil. Sprinkle on some black sesame seeds. And grab the bowl with the boule and move it into the middle of the dough. Grab each side of the main dough and fold it in towards the middle. Wrap the outside dough loosely around the main dough. Then move it to a 7-inch round Banneton. Unwrap the dough. and now rewrap it. Use scissors to remove as much of the dough as needed so you don't get a huge bulge underneath your bread. Use the exact same procedure for the other bread. Then put both Bannetons in bags and leave them in the fridge to retard, from 8 hours up to 24 hours. When you're ready to bake, heat your oven to 260 degrees Celsius, 500 degrees Fahrenheit, with a baking steel and a Dutch oven inside. I'm using my Challenger bread pan. Let it heat for an hour so that the steel and the Dutch oven are heated all the way through. Grab the dough from the fridge, dust it with rice flour so that it doesn't stick to the peel. Flip it onto the peel. I have a couple of black sesame seeds stuck to the outside dough, which I remove using the blade of my lamb. Center a stencil on the dough. To flour, you can use a little pouch made from muslin with all-purpose flour inside. Hold down the stencil, covering half with your hand. Then shake the flour pouch until you can see the stencil on the dough. Then turn the dough around and flour the other half. Then score a big plus. Be careful when you score so that it doesn't score into the main dough. You can always go over the score afterwards. Then do 4 short scores on the sides. Then take the top off the Dutch oven. Place the dough inside and put the top back on. Bake for 20 minutes. Then remove the top. Turn down the oven to 230 degrees Celsius, 450 degrees Fahrenheit, and bake for another 25 minutes. Then take the bread out and let it cool on a wire rack until it's room temperature. Bake the other bread the exact same way. Want to see just how gorgeous this bread is? Oh my freaking God. That just looks so incredibly gorgeous. The fragrance of the toasted sesame seeds is intoxicating. Biting into the bread, the combination of the seeds and the super crispy exterior is just pure joy. The crumb is soft and wonderfully moist, and this bread is absolutely awesome when toasted. Let me know in the comments if you've ever tried to bake a bread like this. I hope you learned something today. See you next time.